Hi guys, welcome to another episode of our project analysis. I'm Lewis and this is Jodie.
Hi.
So today we're going to do something a bit different. Instead of one project for one video, actually we'll be doing two projects in one video. The reason why is because there will be these two projects launching at the same time. One is Faber Residence, which is at the Clementi Jurong area, and Penrith, which is also a new project launching in Queenstown area.
Without further ado, let's start.
Let's go!
So, as we have shared, the preview for actually both Faber Residence as well as Penrith has already started by the time you watch this video. So it launched last weekend, and you can see, either of the projects there has been a great crowd response. SHOWFLATs were quite packed during the weekends as well. And I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but both of these projects are under the same developer. And within Google Land Developer, right, there's going to be a loyalty program. If you want to find out, how to qualify for the loyalty program, or even if are you qualified for the loyalty program, you can feel free to reach out to us. Or maybe even you're wondering, even if I'm qualified for the loyalty program, how do I best choose my unit? You can watch back our Springleaf video to get more tips on how we will recommend you to do so.
Okay, one thing different about Springleaf and this Faber and Penrith, right? All are actually same developer technically, because it's Hong Leong and Coco. One part is actually they don't include the tenants now. So Springleaf that time, if you remember, actually even tenants can qualify for the priority purchase lah. But however, this is something different. Tenants are not allowed anymore. And one thing is, why we want to make this video also is because we have a lot of questions from our buyers like Penrith or Faber. So launching at the same day will give you extra pressure to decide on which projects you want. Of course, in the end, you still have to, depend on the ballot number that you have lah. Okay?
So if you're in doubt, maybe you can just put for both and then see what's your ballot number and go from there also.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll first start with the indicative prices of both Penrith as well as Faber. It's actually very attractive. Faber comes in at below $2,000 per square feet, not something that we commonly see this year, to be honest. And then we have Penrith coming in lower than our expected actually. I think internally, initially, we all thought that, it would be around 2006. Yeah, but it's starting at 2437.
We have also seen developers to be a bit more conservative with prices this year, especially from Sky to these two projects, right? Actually, for Queenstown at the start, they were rumored to start above 2006. So it's a good news for consumers if you're looking at this. And we will go into deeper, how are you going to compare these two if your budget allows also.
Okay, so without further ado, we'll first start off with Faber Residence. So we've actually created this acronym for you, so it's easier to remember as well. This is also not just applicable for this project. You can really apply these attributes to any other projects that you might be considering as well. So we have named it Place to help you to remember it easily. So we'll look at things like, the floor plan, things like land size, things like accessibility, how convenient is it, how much amenities you have around the area. We will also look at the developers behind the project, as well as exposure, how visible is this project to the eyes of public around the area. So starting first from developer as well as land size of Faber Residence. So like we shared, the developer is Google Land. So they have had a lot of reputable projects in the recent years, whether it's the Lentor plots of land, Springleaf that just recently launched and sold out 92% on launch day. And this project sits on a huge land plot of 270,000 square feet. So it's going to be quite spacious. You get quite a lot of space, and that also means that you get good amount of facilities in the area, and landscaping.
Your pools, your gardening works should be of top-notch quality lah.
So definitely when it comes to developer and land size, we think it checks the box lah. Then moving on to accessibility. So where Faber Residence is located is actually at this little red dot over here. You would see that it's near things like your schools, Nanhua Primary. It's also near your amenities like your FairPrice. You also have coffee shops that are quite of a good walking distance away. And then you have your malls like Jurong East, around a couple of bus stops away. And then you have your new Jurong Business Park, because I'm sure you guys have heard the government's also trying to revitalize and do a bit of transformation at the Jurong Township area. So you also get like your smaller malls like Lewis, as well as your food centres as well.
Yeah, so for people who are in the market for a while, or like you know about the resale market, you're also looking at this area. Actually, these are the projects like Park Rivera, your Whistler Grand, also your Twinville that is quite prominent there already. So this will be the newest kid in the block, and also the one with the biggest land plot here.
Okay, and in terms of accessibility, right? So a lot of you might be a bit disappointed that there's actually no MRTs right now that's close by to the project itself from walking distance. But good news is there's going to be 2 MRT stops along the Jurong Regional Line, namely your Jurong Town Hall as well as your Pandan Reservoir, and they're going to be around 800 meters from the project once it is ready. And actually both of this MRT, it's slated to be done around the same time or following very soon on the completion of Faber Residence. So technically, once the project is ready and launched for you to live in, definitely MRT might not be that big of a concern anymore.
Okay, but for currently, right, there will be like a, what they say is a super bus stop. So there will be a bus stop along the highway, whereby in the meantime you can also use that. I think for driving it's also quite convenient because you have an AYE just right at your doorstep as well lah.
Yeah. Then also the last point in terms of accessibility, this Faber Residence actually located within the super school zone. You are covered all the way from really your primary school all the way to like your secondary, university, tertiary education. So if you're thinking of potentially considering this as an investment unit, you want to look at rental, definitely you have a lot of demand coming from people that are going to these schools.
Going to school or like working for the school. So we are using that too as the tenant profile in the future.
And another tenant profile that you will get is also for people who are going to be working in the Jurong area once the transformation is done. There's already currently some offices and businesses that are already operating there, and we expect that to grow over the next couple of years, together with how the government's going to inject more investment into tourism around that area as well. Okay, moving on to our next factor, right? Exposure, or otherwise known as visibility. So you might have heard a little bit about how, if a project is not visible,
can be seen from far.
Yeah, can it be seen from far is quite important, right? But also another factor to maybe think about that is that, when it comes to exposure, in this case for Faber Residence, it's going to be 9 blocks of 5-story buildings. So no matter what, it's a little bit more low rise as compared to its neighboring projects.
Neighbors, yeah.
So one of the things that we will consider then in this case, right, more than visibility, so of course because it's lower, maybe it can't be seen as clearly as other units. Another perspective to look at in terms of visibility is how does that then affect the price loading within the project. So typically we would have already known by now, if you've been in the market for a bit, if you are talking about like higher rise residences, typically we know that prices get a little bit higher when we reach the higher floors, and perhaps that's where those units demand higher PSF transaction. But what happens then when it's a slightly lower rise, right? So we take not really apple comparison, but something that's nearby around the area, Daintree Residence, also another project that is lower rise. We can see, right, that for the 2-bedroom unit, they range from 1,006 to 1,008 on launch day when it's sold, or not really on launch day, when it's sold or bought directly from the developer. The range is from 1,006 to 1,008, around 7% difference. But then when it comes to the 3-bedroom, it was transacted around 1,005 to 1,008, marks a 18% difference. Perhaps then for higher rise, we can see that for Whistler Grand, which is like 2 skyscraper buildings, for the 2-bedroom, there was a larger range or larger spread between the PSF transacted, 1,002 to 1,006, which is around 20% difference. And also for the 3-bedroom, we have 1,002 to 1,005, which is also around 24% difference. What this really means, right, is that when it comes to lower rise, it's not that you can't earn from the differing buildings. Perhaps it's just that it's a slower growth that you have to be that you have to manage your expectations a little bit. Maybe the growth would be slightly slower, but definitely there would still be units that will command slightly different prices within the project itself as well.
Because one thing to know is if you are a developer, if you have a higher building, right, your price or your profit spread can be higher from floor to floor. But however, the strategy for lower rise, it could be horizontally, that is the prices are spread out. And that's one. Second thing is actually, it could be better for you because the premium facing will be slightly wider also. You have more units and you have more chances to actually get a premium facing. So these are the 2 main differences that we want to share with you.
So you can actually get like your best stack at a lower premium as compared to maybe a higher rise building.
Maybe for example, like you want a pool view, right? There are more stacks that are pool view. So this is basically how you can strategize between these 2.
Okay, so just to sum up how this stands within our place framework, we think that, definitely it is suitable. There's going to be good floor plans, which we'll cover in a little bit. The land size is good. You have your bus stops and eventually your MRT in the next couple of years. Of course, developer's reputable, so not much concerns about it. Maybe slight drawback is just that it's not as visible as you would like it to be.
Like it to be, and also comparing to the neighbours lah. Neighbours are also all high rise, so it could be maybe affecting the visibility quite a bit. But with the right strategy, I think it's still a value buy for this project as well.
Okay, so diving a little bit deeper into the site plan. So Faber Residence, it's here, right beside AYE, but not to be too concerned. That's going to be good acoustics to soundproof the sounds coming from the highway, and it's going to be minimally around 25 meters from the highway to the first unit of the house. So you do get some good sound protection as well. So it's going to be 399 units within the project with an expected TOP of first quarter in 2029. There's going to be 9 blocks in total. You get a good 1:1 car park lot ratio actually. So if that's something you're concerned about, not to worry. There's more than enough lots as well. Okay, so coming to the unit mix, we have a good mix between 2-bedroom and 5-bedroom. You can see that majority of the unit mix is starts from the 3 to 4 bedrooms. So you would say that this is a lot more for own stay consideration to a certain extent. And yeah, like we shared, right, the starting price is very attractive. It's going to start at $1,995. So, if you're thinking of wanting to buy something for a larger family, but maybe you have limited budget to what you're considering, this is a good consideration lah. That's what I feel. Yeah. So moving to the site plan, as mentioned, so we have 9 different blocks over here. There will be some that faces the Ulu Pandan Park Connector. There will also be a side gate that leads out to your park connector. There's going to be some blocks that face towards the Faber Walk, where it's probably most likely going to be a bit quieter compared to the side of the houses that's nearer to the highway over here.
Actually, still to orientate you better, this side will be facing the landed side. So like what Jodie says, it's be quieter for here. But however, if you, let's say, even though it's a low rise, you still want sort of a view or a slightly further setback, right? I think this side will be better. This is a Ulu Pandan Reservoir or river, if you say. Then it's facing towards the German Centre and Jurong area. Okay, but for, let's say you are very, very sensitive to noise, you might try to really avoid this one. This one will be the nearest to the highways. Yeah.
Okay, so starting with our 2-bedroom layouts, it's actually quite straightforward. There's only 3 2-bedroom layouts in Faber Residence. We are going in with indicative PSF of 2,200 to make it safe for the entry price of the project. So you'll be looking at around 1.42 for a 2-bedder in Faber Residence. So actually, if you look across the board, the 2-bedroom layouts are actually pretty similar. All of them are located not at corners, but within the intermediate parts of the project itself. So if you were to compare between the 3, right, they are all dumbbell layouts and they all have a similar, 3-meter wide living room. You have all open kitchens with the option to enclose it if you would like to. The only difference really between these 3 is that you get a slightly deeper living dining area on the side of B3. So honestly, I would say, if the price for all of these 3 are going to be similar, perhaps your best bet would be on the type B3, because you do get a slightly longer living dining area, but otherwise there's not much differences between each of these 3 units.
Actually, for buyers who are looking at this beta type, right, you need to pay a lot of attention to how they price the project at different stacks, because as a floor plan, right, you don't really have an immediate advantage between all of this. It's the price you gotta enter. So this one will be very, very sensitive to the price that you're entering. And of course, we are actually expecting ground floor to the top floor, right, the spread wouldn't be that much. So even if it is, right, then the more you should pay attention to the launch prices for each stack and each level also. Yeah.
Moving on to the 3-bedroom, we have 3 main types: the basic, the standard, and the plus. So starting from the basic, with our estimated PSF of 2,200, we are looking at the price of around 1.75 million for your most basic 3-bedroom types. So both of them are all located within the intermediate units of the project, just different facing. If we were to look closer, they all come with an enclosable kitchen, the option to enclose for both C1 and C2. You do have a dumbbell layout for both of this, which is quite not so common in the resale market today because most of them follow the conventional layout. So if something dumbbell layout is what you're looking for, this is something to consider as well.
I feel that in the market now for 3-bedder compact at this size is usually a very, very similar layout. Sometimes because of the intermediate units, right, it's not corner units, so they can't really supply you with the open windows and things like that as well. But one thing to take note about this unit type, right, you might want to see the prices between the pool facing, which is here, and for the other unit type is here. And then, of course, the other side will be a non-pool facing. So for this one, you might also want to check out the price difference between these two. Like, is a premium for the pool facing worth it or not? Yeah, so if let's say you're not sure or like you feel like you need a lot more price information, feel free to reach out to us, we'll guide you along.
Yes. Then moving on to the next two 3-bedroom basic types, we are looking at slightly bigger units of 818 square feet. The difference between these, right, is that you can see these are all at the corners of the project The other one as well, C4. Okay. And it's slightly different. You do have an open kitchen concept for both of these units, so that's also something to consider if that's something that you prefer. But both of these units follow a more conventional layout of your typical 3-bedders in the market. Okay. I would say the only main difference really between these two unit type is where the fridge is placed. So you would see, right, the first one, the fridge and pantry is like side by side. Then in the second one, you do have like a small little space between.
I see.
But other than that, they're all pretty much similar in terms of sizes, in terms of having windows at your toilets as well as your windows.
So especially for the kitchen side, because apart from the kitchen, right, the rest are actually quite similar. Comparing also to the previous two compact layouts that we had. One thing is, even though this is an open kitchen, right, the thing is, if you, let's say you leave it open, right, you can also fit the dining table in the landscape way, right? Then you can host more people also. Your overall living space area will be very, very spread out and also like look wider. And even if you want to segregate, you can usually install a glass panel here. Then I think this will also look very nice for your kitchen already. So I feel even though for this kind of layout it's open, but I feel it's very flexible for your own very unique needs.
So if you had to choose between the 3-bedroom basic types, we will actually personally prefer the type C3 and type C4, the slightly bigger 3-bedder. Because firstly, not only do you get your usual conventional layout, you also do get like the corner units of the project. So that means slightly more privacy, if that's something that you value. And also, if you notice, right, between the C1, C2 and C3, C4, in C3, C4 you do get a bit more space to do some slight carpentry work. You do get a slightly smaller foyer space as compared to the C1, C2 where it's like directly viewable into your unit once the door is open.
Yeah, one thing is from the doorstep actually it will look very spacious comparing these two. But another thing is what Jodie said is true. Actually the size difference is not that big. It's about 21 square feet difference. If let's say we are accounting for the same range of PSF, right, I think the price won't differ that much. So if let's say you were able to get it at a very similar price, right, this one is the way to go, unless the queue number is not that great or there won't be any units left.
So moving on to the 3-bedroom standard, we have 3 different layouts for the 3-bedroom standard. At our indicative price of 2,200, we're looking around 1.89. We will actually say, right, between all of these 3 unit types, they are pretty much similar. They are all situated at the intermediate parts of the project as well. So if we were to zoom out and take a look, right, we would say that C5 is actually the best because amongst the 3 that looks all very similar and all are dumbbell layout, you get a very slightly larger dining as well as your master room in your type C5 where you just get a very, very negligible difference in your balcony. Yeah, so actually if you're someone who looks for, the size of your master, then we would say just go for the type C5, but of course you will also see that there's more type C5 within the unit as well, so it's important to make sure you choose the right unit. Moving on to the 3-bedroom plus, At 2.2, we are looking at around 2.2 for our 3-bedroom plus. There are 4 different unit types for your 3-bedroom plus. Starting from C8, C9, they are more limited, located at the corners within the project. So if you were to look, right, the only really tangible difference between these two is really just the location of where you're putting your DB box as well as your storage. So maybe one good thing about C8 is that you can build some carpentry over here as opposed to that which is a bit more limited lah.
Actually, this will be very similar to the 818 square feet layout, just that for a bigger bedroom, 3-bedroom, right, you get the dry kitchen and the wet kitchen also. Especially at the household shelter also. So these are the components that is different and also a lot more important for family needs lah.
If you move on to the C10 and C11, so looking at the floor plan, it was a bit like find the difference.
Very similar, but we dig out all the differences for you already.
Yes. So you'll notice, right, unlike the C8 and C9 where you get your windows in your toilet as well as your kitchen, which is what you would expect of a 3-bedroom plus, in C10 there is no windows in your powder room, so it's more of a mechanical vent, but you still do get your window in your kitchen lah. Yeah, so that's something to take note for the C10 unit. And then for C11, you just get a slightly larger foyer space and just a very slightly bigger living, but it's actually 11 square feet bigger. So actually most of the 11 square feet, we would say, has gone to the foyer. So it really depends on your own personal take on how important is it to have a slightly larger foyer.
I think the top up will also link to the facing that you actually desire lah. Yeah, so for this will be situated in all this orange area, and the other one will be slightly here. So unless you really want outer facing, which is your C10, so this might be more suitable for you because the other one doesn't have it.
So if you compare between all, our personal take lah is actually C8 and C9, because we find that for C8, C9, you get your efficient layout, you are not paying extra for a larger foyer space, and at the same time, you're definitely getting what you're paying for a typical 3-bedroom plus. You get all your windows, all your good ventilation as well.
Overall, there won't be a very big difference in the layout and also the looks of it, even though there are some square feet minus here from living room, plus here from toilet, but I think all in all, I think it will look the same, you will feel the same as well. It's the facing that it matters, and also the loading or the quantum, or the premium you actually buy into to justify your purchase lah.
Okay, moving on to our 4-bedroom. We have 4-bedroom basic as well as 4-bedroom standard. So starting from basic, we have 3 main types at 1119 square feet. This would look at around 2.46 million. Okay, so I would say the layouts are actually all quite similar as well. You do get a small foyer coming into the house. You get your enclosable kitchens for all of the different unit types. The main difference is sometimes where your DB and storage is located amongst the 3. And then, spot the difference, right? For your type D3, your window disappeared.
Window again.
Yeah, so only your type D1 and D2 will have your window in your powder room as well as your kitchen lah. In terms of where all these units are located, they are all at the corner parts of the project
blocks
as well lah, different blocks. So it's also another headache when it comes to like choosing the right unit.
Yep.
So moving on to the larger 4-bedroom standard, you have 1206 and 1216 square feet. Okay, so for these, if you compare between the two, what you get is actually a sizably larger balcony. So if like you want something that has like better views towards like, you know, your reservoir or maybe even your pool facing view, this could be something to consider about. Also just take note for both the D4, D5, even though they are larger with your larger balcony, you do not, once again, get your windows in your toilet. And surprisingly, right, even for the master bath, you actually don't get any windows.
Okay, so I will say that this layout could be quite unique because there are some plus and minuses for this layout. One thing is what Jodie mentioned, the balcony is longer, is a slightly longer balcony, which has option for you to take down one of the rooms so that it become a landscape living room. That's one. Second thing is the difference between this one is also they have a segregated bedroom. But we are quite disappointed because when there's a segregated bedroom, right, there should be a junior master looking bedroom. But however, it's not connected. It's at the same side, but it's not connected. So I think this is something that we think that is a bit of a disappointment lah. And of course, furthermore, 4-bedder doesn't have windows in most part of the house, especially for kitchen and master bath could be a downside as well. Because 4-bedder usually will utilize the kitchen and the toilet as well. Because the toilet, you have a lot more family members. So this will be a downside. But however, it's a good size of 1216 square feet. So I would think like for on paper wise, I think it will be a good square feet to look for.
Okay, so moving on to your next 4-bedroom standard types. We are looking at a slightly larger 1270 square feet with your same wider balcony. And great news, you get back your kitchen window, toilet window, except for type D8.
Another spot of difference.
Yeah.
So this one must be very important to really know which one has which will help you lah.
So yes, but good thing they are all also at the corners. So if you prefer your privacy, this is a good unit to consider lah. Other than the window differences, we'd say the main difference is really just the DP box placement, which gives you the opportunity to like do some carpentry if you want. And of course, you get your wet dry kitchen segregation lah. So for our 4-bedroom top picks, because there's so many and I'm sure you're also a bit confused by now, we will actually recommend the type D2 as well as the type D7, of course depending on your needs. So for type D2, we are choosing these because you do get your windows and you get your efficient balcony. That's something that's okay. And then you also get sizable 16 meter square at your master area lah. And then on this side, for 1270 square feet, you get your larger balcony, you get all your windows, and then you also get your walk-in wardrobe. So you actually get a very good
master bedroom
size, if that's what you like. Last but not least, our 5-bedroom types. Okay, so there's only one 5-bedroom layout available actually, and it's going for around 3.26. So you actually get a very wide balcony, depending, if you like doing like gardening, having a 10
extra storage.
Extra storage, yeah, this is something that's very nice for you. However, we also want to preface a disappointing factor of Faber Residence is that, in their 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, and mainly also because it is low rise, you don't get your private lift in your 5-bedroom. Yeah. So in your 5-bedroom type, you get your master at 21 square meters, very comfortable, and you also get your junior master area at 16 square meters. So all of these 5 bedrooms, there's only going to be at 4 stacks, so you need really have like 20 units to choose from. Actually, I would say both are all good lah. Either you want to face the pool or the park, depending on your preference lah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were to look at Faber as a whole, right, you'll be wondering, okay, 2,000 square feet, what does that really look like? Is it really good? Is it really safe, right? So we are going to take some examples from the surrounding area just to give you an indicative lah. So if you were to look, right, Faber is actually located in D5, and if you will look at the average new launch, right, for D5, it has been hovering around 2,500. Of course, this might be a bit inflated because some of the new launch projects have been higher rise buildings. But think about it, right? If you're coming in at 2,100 and everything else is at 2,500, it's very safe lah. You do have a lot of buffer to grow and then to sell back in the resale market. And then if you will look at your new launch on the block, Elta, it has already transacted at 2,800, and even in one of the newest resale projects in this area at Park Clementes, it has also been transacting around 2,200. So definitely, going in at a price of less than 2,000, you're potentially buying into something new at lower than resale prices. If you're thinking about your exit strategy as well, or who's going to be the people buying from you in future, right? I'm sure you all know that Clementi is known for its high value HDB prices reaching up to
HDBs.
Yeah, like 1.2 and even 1.5 million dollars, right? So all of these people, after they have sold their HDB for good proceeds, definitely if they're looking to upgrade, this would be something that they are looking for, especially for the large floor plates lah. Now that we come to here, let's move to our next project, looking at Penrith.
Okay, so now we go deeper into Penrith at Queenstown. So just some basic information about Penrith. Coco Land project also. We are talking about a very standard timeline of 4 years construction, but of course there will be earlier construction completion. So it's about April 2029 we will actually receive the TOP. And for total units it will be 462. It's 2 blocks of 40 stories high building. Okay, so total car park lot about 377 is roughly 70 to 80%. Okay, so location wise is at the Queenstown MRT. I think it's a very matured town with already there are a lot of well performed projects in the past already, namely like Margaret View, Commonwealth Towers, Sterling Residence and Queen's Peak, and even Queens as well. But even before we talk about the performance in these projects, right? Actually, if you want to just have a quick look, the red triangles are the facings of different projects currently. So these are the ones looking out. So meaning to say, for example, for this project, right? So Sterling Residences has 2 facing that is looking out. So it's actually quite a wide angle. However, as you can see, Queenstown will be the upcoming one, or it might be the only one that has the widest block view here, because Penrith will be overlooking GCBA area, which we know GCBA area is very, very permanent, and we will be able to look very far once you clear a certain story. We will actually show you the views in the next few slides. So all in all, these projects are ones that are nearest to the MRT, Queenstown MRT. And furthermore, this will be the most visible from afar. Meaning to say, from your highway here, which they are going to open a cul-de-sac around here, around this area, so that you can enter from here. So when you are driving past and you see this building, you might be very curious about like, hey, what project is this, what condo is this? So in that way, visibility can bring you would say free advertisement for your resale buyers when they are hunting for houses and they see this building that is 40 stories high and what is this about. So visibility might be important here because the rest of the other projects in Queenstown, right, will be slightly more blocked, be it with HDB or each other. So this might be a physical advantage before even talking about the price advantage buying into a project here. Okay, so you might have heard that Penrith, there are 2 buildings. But the thing is, they might have 3 views. One is the GCB views, one is the pool view, and the other one is actually your city view. But for us, I feel that there are actually 5 views. Why are there 5 views? Because I feel for a taller project, usually there's a disparity between the views of a lower floor and a higher floor, be it unblocked or not. So when we see the GCB view, right, if you're at a higher floor, right, or rather you're at a higher floor, you'll be looking out at the elevation of the GCB view. But for a lower floor, but it's still unblocked, it's still quite clear. You still have a setback. There won't be an immediate blockage right outside your window, or rather when you look out. So these 2 will be determined by, of course, preference, and of course the price difference between the low floor and the high floor. And talking about the pool view, the setback between these 2 blocks will be quite long. It's about 60 meters. So actually it's really long. You can actually feel the difference comparing to other condos that you have seen. Very, very large pool. It comes with a slightly narrow land, I would say, because it's sandwiched between Dawson Road, HDB, and also your primary school. But however, one thing we wish for is actually if only these 2 blocks will be staggered, will be like here and here, so that at least you have like a half unblocked here, half city view here. But I think overall it's still a very good facing if you actually still buy into the pool view. Okay, so city view will look something like this. If you are buying at a high floor, very nice and cool looking city view to be fair, even though there are other higher buildings, but it's also slightly further. And for a lower floor city view, it looks something like this.
Really up to your personal preference.
Really up to personal preference, because even for city view, there's a setback. So it's not a very concerning thing. And then when you are looking at the drone shots, right, it still look quite nice overall. But same thing for Faber. Faber, you are looking at the premium, you got to add into a different facing like pool view and things like that. This is a premium that you really need to be careful about. Okay, some artist impression for you. So basically the builder and also the developer provided with a lot of very, very nice architecture, very, very nice infrastructure for you. Okay, so now we go to the floor plans and the layouts. Firstly, we have the 2-bedroom. This is a 2-bed, 1-bath layout. Standing at 614 square feet. I would say from the looks of it, 614, you would think that it's a bigger bedroom type for 2 bed 1 bath. People might think it's 2 bed 2 bath because 2 bed 2 bath other projects should be about 624, 63 something. But for this to be a 2 bed 1 bath at 614 is quite decent. One thing to take note actually for this 2 bed 1 bath is not dumbbell layout. Surprisingly, it's our traditional conventional L-shaped layout lah. Okay, for this, that means your kitchen to living area might look a bit more spacious if you don't really like enclose it. Okay, so for the facing wise, it will be your pool view facing. If not, there will be a GCB view facing. Okay, so before you forget, we also want to mention that our own indicative average for Penrith should be 2,750. So we are going to use this to compare the other unit type also. So standing at 2750 PSF, right, we are looking at the average to purchase this unit at about 1.68 million.
Maybe you might be wondering, right, how come we use 2750 when the starting indicative was less than 2.5?
Yes.
Yeah, so actually because this is a 40-story building, we expect the loading to be quite different depending on which level you really choose. So this is more of like the average between your lower floor units and then your 40th floor unit as well.
So there will be a disparity between prices, but this is just our rough indicative average. So if you need to find out more about how are you going to plan out your price strategy, feel free to let us know also. Okay, so now next we move on to the 2 bed 2 bath, our 2-bedder premium. We are looking at also a very traditional one. I think it's very conservative for the developer to build these units because number layouts are usually quite efficient in their floor plans because at 678 you have 2 bedroom 2 bathroom and it's actually quite spacious as you can see from the master room. Okay, good thing is also 2 bed 2 bath comes with an enclosable kitchen. Okay, so for the facing wise, you have a stack of pool facing, another stack of city view facing. Okay, so this is about a slightly bigger unit with extra toilet comparing to the 2 bed 1 bath. It's standing at about 1.864 million. Okay, so we will classify our 3 bedders into 2 subtypes. One is the compact and one is the regular, one is the standard. So 3A and 3B will be our so-called compact units, standing at your 786 square feet and your 850 square feet. Okay, so we dive deeper into the 786 square feet first. It also has a facing for the pool, also have another facing which is facing the city view. Okay, so for 786, if you're looking at 797 square feet at Faber, actually they will give you a dumbbell layout. But however, this will give you an L-shaped layout, which is quite important because it might look more spacious coming in from the doorstep. Okay, it will give you like a more traditional, more BTO layout also with regular bedrooms for common room, and the master bedroom also is quite a decent size. Okay, and for 850 square feet layout, which is the type 3B, we are looking at something very similar, but this one also only offers at the city views layout.
I think one thing we want to call also for all the 3-bedroom types, right, is that whether you are picking the 3-bedroom compact or 3-bedroom standard, their bedroom sizes are all similar, slightly smaller than your typical resale bedroom sizes. You would typically be looking for something around 9 square meters or 10 square meters, but for the 3-bedders at Penrith, they are all going at about 8 square meters. But you can still fit your queen size bed comfortably lah.
Correct. So between these 3A and 3B, the average prices will be at 2.1 and 2.3. The main difference is we think that it's actually your foyer orientation and also the length of your living room. So for your 850 square feet, I think most of the size or most of the square feet will go into your living room, the additional living room space. So if you think that you want a slight advantage between these 2 units and you think that maybe a longer living room suits my family more, I think you can go for 850. If you want to buy into a 3-bedder in Queenstown at a very minimal price, I think this will be the 786, the type 3A will be better also.
And also because this type 3A sizing is actually quite similar to the Sterling Residence 2-bed plus study size.
Oh wow, yes.
So actually a similar price point, if you can get a 3-bedder or just a slight top up, this could really be something that's worth your consideration.
Actually, if you're looking for a 2-bedder or like plan to look for a 2-bedder, I would say like maybe you might want to explore the type 3A as well. Okay, we go to the bigger 3-bedder layout type. It's our 3C and 3D. 3C stands at 936 square feet. 3D is about 1066. 3C has a pool facing, and for 3D is also a pool facing but at the other side. Okay, I think the main difference is actually your bedroom size. Your master bedroom size, sorry. Your master bedroom will give you a carved out master walk-in wardrobe. For this one, for 3C, will be more regular. Okay, apart from that, I think for the size of the living room should be a little bit wider in terms of 3006 and 2008 for here. Then as for your dining area, right, I would say that dining area you can put it here, somewhere here. So you make your dining area more generous. Like when you have hosting, you have your guests coming in, I think there will be more space to move around. For your 3C, it will be more slightly regular, whereby you can put a 6-seater dining table. Okay, all in all, it's also a bit up to your personal budget, because I think the disparity between these prices are a bit different. It's at 2.5 and 2.9. Okay, so lastly, we go to our 4-bedroom type, 4A and 4B, 1173 square feet and 1281 square feet. Okay, the facing wise for 4A at a smaller size, there is a pool facing and also there's a GCB facing. For your 1281, there's only a GCB facing. Okay, let's dive deep into what are the differences, key differences for these two units. For 4A, you're looking at a very long, I would say portrait living space, but for your 4B, right, it's a landscape living space, which for me, I also a bit biased. When I look at 4-bedroom, I always look at, is it landscape? Because I feel like 4-bedroom onwards should deserve, or rather looks nicer if there's a landscape living room.
Looks more extensive.
More extensive when you come in from the doorstep. But however, doesn't mean 4A is losing its shine, because it still gives a very, very extensive living room space. Okay, but of course, your position of your dining area will be very different, like here and here. I think for the configuration of your kitchen and yard is quite similar. It's just the orientation is a bit different. I think also, we also want to bring out that actually for the common room for this Penrith, right, is slightly smaller. We are looking at 8 square meter for our average common room size, as you can see from the previous 3-bedder as well. So on paper, of course, I wouldn't say it's a very obvious difference. Yeah, so I think comparing to 9 square meter, I think it will be very minimal, the difference. So another thing to differentiate these two units actually is the bathroom. So there's 1, 2 along the bedrooms, but here there's only 1 sharing with these 3. Another one will be in the kitchen, which is the WC. And adding on to that, actually, your bedroom 3 can be a junior master, vice versa for here, because there's a dual entry door.
So it's like 2 en-suites.
Depending on which one prefers private toilet. Okay, so we have run through all the unit type and also the floor plan for Penrith. What we want to really do now actually is to analyze the price a little bit, so that we can give some guidance and shed some light to you on how are you going to determine what price should you buy in, what price should you exit. So our indicative, as we were mentioning, is about 2750. Use this because we analyze between the starting price and also what are the prices that we should walk away, which is we will emphasize more on the next slide. So for 2-bedder Penrith average run, it will be about 2750 if you take into account of harmonization. If you want to convert this PSF back to the older calculation, which is pre-harmonization, it's about 2557. Okay, so if from this average, we compare with the median for Sterling Residences. Why we want to compare Sterling Residences? Because it's the newest resale project in Queenstown, and it's also just very, very near Penrith. Okay, as we can see from the January to September 2025 transaction, right, the median transaction for 2-bedder is 2003, 3-bedder 2005, 4-bedder 2005 or so, respectively. So these are already old calculations. So that's why we can do a proper analysis between these prices. So as you can see, for the PSF difference to buy new versus old, right, is about 8%. For your 3-bedder, 4-bedder, it's about 2 and 1.5%. Okay, so I would say that for the demand or the price that has been done in this area, right, I would say Penrith, the gap between new and old is not that great. Meaning to say, Penrith, if let's say if launching at 2007 or buying at 2007 to 2008, right, I would say it's quite a safe entry because you're entering almost the same as the next older one.
And we must also remember that Penrith is coming in as the first harmonized project in Queenstown as well. So that in itself, it's also quite a unique factor.
Yeah, that attribute and also the positioning of the condo, which give you advantage like we actually shared earlier about your wider unblocked view that you can have if you're actually facing out to the GCB area. Okay, so another analysis we provide for you is with the highest transacted price, because you might be thinking, why do we always use median only? But now we use the highest transacted price, meaning to say it's already done. So for two-bedder, it's done about almost 2007. So if you are accounting for harmonization, so now we convert the old one to new one, because we need to compare, similarly. So it result in about 2008. Okay, so 2008, then for three-bedder wise will be 2006, 2007, and also four-bedder will be about 2008 as well. For this, we are gonna sort of judge like what will be the safe price range to enter, and what will be a slightly riskier entry for the higher price. Okay, so we add a 10% benchmark price from resale because we have data, or like rather our study is that actually whenever there's a new project, then there's an older project at beside, right, which we now use Penrith Residences. Usually the developer will launch about 10% higher. But we benchmark 10% higher or lower, if it's launching above 10% is riskier lah. So the disparity will be a lot bigger. But of course, this is an average. It depends on the age gap of these two projects. It depends on a lot of things, but Sterling Residence is quite similar in all aspects. So if you're going to add 10%, our max or our recommended PSF to buy into Penrith is actually at 3,001 for a two-bedder, 2,008 and 3,000 respectively for three and four-bedder. So we will say that this will be the walk-away price, I would say. But if you are talking about like at your turn, at your queue, right, for your booking day, if you hit something nearer to here, which is about 2,750 as our percent average, is a goal for us. But if you can buy within 2,009, 3,000, then perhaps you might want to seek more advice, or if you want our advice, feel free to let us know also. Okay, so going back to the main question, Penrith for Faber Residence, even though it launches at the same time, but doesn't mean both are very similar projects. Okay, as you can see, even though it's not very far, it's still in the west, central west, there are many things that differs from each other. So to wrap up Penrith is 40-story high, slightly smaller land, I would say, slightly narrower one, but it has good setback between blocks and also your pool. So setback as in from the city view, from Penrith to another building, for your unblocked view from GCB, between the two blocks sandwiched by the swimming pool. So these are actually quite good distances. For price-wise, as we analysed just now, it's very, very competitive towards the resale market in the area. It gets a very strong price demand, be it for HDB, for your private properties. Actually, it can command a very, very good demand, and even until now. Then for exit strategy, I think competition from resale would be more competitive because you're a newer kid in town, but you actually walk in at a very, very similar price. So from there, actually, you stand quite a very good ground when you enter into the resale market. And lastly, of course, is the exit strategy, which is your convenience. It's a mature estate. You have your MRTs, just 4 minutes walk from the MRT. You have schools and amenities as well.
Then coming back to Faber Residence, right? So Faber Residence, just remember, it's a little bit on the low-rise side, but what you get is a resort-like living. Definitely you get a larger land plot, so you have a lot more landscaping and decent facilities within there. And also it's directly connected to the park. And then for Faber, because it was purchased at a low land price, that's why it's translating to our low starting prices today of $2,000. And the good thing about it being a low rise is that you can get your premium facing at more attractive prices because of the smaller spread between the lowest and highest PSF. Okay, and then when you look at it from the perspective of exit strategy, you actually have a good price support from your new launch, as we shared earlier on. You do get your reputable school. It's 1 km within Nanhua, so it will help to fuel your resale demand. And by DOB, there will be 2 MRT stations that will be completed.
Okay, so this will be our final note. Timeline-wise, it will be very, very similar, but of course, it's subjected to developers' updates. So if you really are interested, or like you are very caught between these two projects, you should really call us. We can guide you along as well. So starting indicative is 2000, our average indicative is about 2002. Okay, then for Penrith, our average is about 2750. Of course, starting from 2437. Okay, so SHOWFLAT wise, very different areas. If you need the map to the SHOWFLAT, let us know as well. So we'll guide you along so that you can also take a look at these two projects. All in all, to wrap up with one sentence for each project. So Faber Residence, we'll say a longer term, we also will be more supportive into buying a bigger unit like 4-bedder and 5-bedder, because we have seen the performance there for bigger unit is better, and also it cater to a bigger families over there, especially with the landed active just right beside you. You might see some potential landed downgraders. Whereas for your Penrith is a mature estate. It's a known mature estate whereby like people will be like thinking like Queenstown is a very convenient location, which is really a very convenient location. To enter here, it will be a very good opportunity because like we are looking at all more younger couple and younger families coming into Queenstown also.
So anyway, it's a very exciting season. We really have so many projects. If you haven't watched, we have recently done Sky, and then now we're talking about Penrith as well as Faber, and there's also other projects coming up. If you need any information at all or any advice on what to choose, how to choose, feel free to contact us and we'll see you soon. Bye!